Alt er på engelsk. Så all good, all good. Hallo, hallo. Velkommen. Okay. Yeah, so it's time to start the info meeting. This is going to be held in English, since I expected English-speaking people to come here. So I made everything in English, and also I prefer talking about effective altruism in English. So yeah, welcome. Today we will give you an overview of effective altruism from a global perspective, before diving into what you can expect from us here at Effektiv Altruisme NTNU. Hallo, velkommen! Yeah, and I would appreciate it if you saved your questions till the end of the presentation, because then we will have a round of questions and answers before we eat the pizza. So I expect the pizza to arrive in roughly 50 minutes from now. Is that correct, Håkon? Yeah. Yes, yes. So yeah, this is the pizza you can expect. So I'm looking forward to it. Also, for your information, I am recording this, though you will not be in the film, apart from maybe your voice during the Q&A session. If you feel uncomfortable with this, let us know after the presentation, such that we can just remove your audio from the recording. And so we intend to use this at our social media. So to begin with, I want to share with you a thought experiment formulated by philosopher Peter Singer. So I ask you to imagine that one day you're walking across a pond, and there's something in the pond splashing around. And when you get a little closer, you're shocked to see that it's actually a very small child, and the child seems to be drowning. You rush down to the pond, but as you do, the thought occurs to you, damn, I just put on my most expensive shoes and fine clothes, and I'm going to this important occasion. I don't have time to take them off if I'm going to save the child, and this will ruin the clothes if I jump into the pond. Then perhaps the thought might occur to you, is this child really my responsibility? I didn't put the child in the pond. It's not my child, and I have no idea why it is there. I could just walk past and go on to my important occasion, and if I did, would I have done something wrong? So I ask you, the audience, like, what do you think? Do you think it would be wrong? Like, for example, raise your hand if you think it would be wrong. Okay. Yeah, so it's like over half, like almost everyone, maybe some hesitation. But yeah, this is the general understanding that I see from most people, and I also share it. And Peter Singer points out that we're really all in this situation, not that we are rescuing children out of ponds, but that for relatively small amounts of money, we could save the life of a child. There are children dying from, for example, malaria, and we know how to save those lives. So if rather than saving a life, I want to save the money to, for example, spend it on some new clothing for myself, then am I any different from the person that walks across the child in the pond? That's the question. Now, I'm not here to say what's right and wrong. This is just to get you thinking about it. And at least this is something that gives me reason to care about improving the lives of people that I have no personal connection with. And it's one of the things that motivated me to get involved with effective altruism in the first place. Effective Altruism is a project that aims to find the best ways to help others and put them into practice. It's both a research field, which aims to identify the world's most pressing problems and the best solutions to them, and a practical community that aims to use those findings to do good. This project matters because while many attempts to do good fail, some are enormously effective. For instance, some charities help hundreds or even 1,000 times as many people as others when given the same amount of resources. This means that by thinking carefully about the best ways to help, we can do far more to tackle the world's biggest problems. Effective altruism was formalized by scholars at Oxford University, but has now spread around the world and is applied by tens of thousands of people in more than 70 countries. This picture shows the different local groups like Effektiv Altruism NTNU here in Trondheim in Norway. People inspired by effective altruism have worked on projects that range from funding the distribution of 200 million malaria nets, to academic research on the future of AI, to campaigning for policies to prevent the next pandemic. They're not united by any particular solution to the world, but by a way of thinking. Oh, sorry. And they try to find unusually good ways of helping, such that a given amount of effort goes an unusually long way. I will now present some cause areas that effective altruism prioritizes. The first one is providing basic medical support in poor countries. Why this issue, you might ask? Well, it's common to say that charity begins at home, but in effective altruism, charity begins where you can help the most. And this often means focusing on the people who are most neglected by the current system, which is often those who are more distant from us. Over 200 million people live on less than $1.9 per day. In contrast, an American living near the poverty line lives on 20 times as much, and the average American college graduate lives on about 107 times as much. This places them in the top 1.3 percentile of income, globally speaking, which you can see in the image. And this is quite similar for people in Norway. And the amounts are already adjusted for the fact that money goes further in poor countries. So global inequality is extreme. And because of this, transferring resources to the very poorest people in the world can do a huge amount of good. In richer countries like the US and UK, governments are typically willing to spend over $1 million to save a life. This is well worth doing, but in the world's poorest countries, the cost of saving a life is far lower. GiveWell is an organization that does in-depth research to find the most evidence-backed and cost-effective health and development projects. And it discovered that while many aid interventions don't work, some, like providing insecticide-treated bed nets, which you saw a picture of earlier, can save a child's life for about $5,500 on average. And that is 180 times less. In this image, you can see the difference. Over 110,000 individual donors have used GiveWell's research to contribute more than $1 billion to its recommended charities, supporting organizations like Against Malaria Foundation, which has distributed over 200 million insecticide-treated bed nets. And collectively, these efforts have estimated to have saved 159,000 lives. And for reference, that is almost as many people as there are living here in Trondheim. So the next priority that is often talked about in effective altruism is preventing the next pandemic. Why this issue? Well, the people in effective altruism typically try to identify issues that are big in scale, tractable, and unfairly neglected. The aim is to find the biggest gaps in current efforts in order to find where an additional person can have the greatest impact. One issue that seems to match those criteria is preventing pandemics. Researchers in effective altruism argued as early as 2014 that given the history of near misses, there was a good chance that a large pandemic would happen in our lifetimes. But preparing for the next pandemic was, and remains, hugely underfunded compared to other global issues. For instance, the US invests around 8 billion per year preventing pandemics, compared to around 280 billion per year spent on counterterrorism over the last decade. Now, preventing terror attacks is most certainly important, but the scale of the issue seems smaller. For instance, in the last 50 years, around 500,000 people have been killed by terrorism, but over 21 million people were killed by COVID-19 alone. And not to mention, a future pandemic could easily be much worse than COVID-19. There's nothing to rule out a disease that's more infectious than the Omicron variant, but as deadly as smallpox. In effective altruism, once a big and neglected problem has been identified, the community looks for solutions that have a chance of making a big improvement and are neglected by others working on the same issue. Which brings us to some examples of what has been done. In 2016, Open Philanthropy, a foundation inspired by effective altruism, became the largest founder of Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, which is one of the few groups doing research to identify better policy responses to pandemics, and was an important group in the response of COVID-19. When COVID-19 broke out, members of the community founded One Day Sooner, a non-profit that advocates for human challenge trials. In this type of vaccine trial, healthy individuals or volunteers are deliberately infected with the disease, enabling near instant testing of the vaccine. As one of the only advocates for this intervention, One Day Sooner has signed up over 30,000 volunteers and played an important role in starting the world's first COVID-19 human challenges trial. And this model can be repeated when we face the next pandemic. So, moving on to helping to create the field of AI alignment research, AI being artificial intelligence. People in effective altruism often end up focusing on issues that seem counterintuitive, obscure, or exaggerated. But this is because it's more impactful to work on issues that are neglected by others, all else being equal. And the issues that are neglected by others are more likely to be unconventional and counterintuitive. One example is the AI alignment problem. Artificial intelligence is progressing rapidly. The leading AI systems are now able to engage in limited conversations, solve college-level math problems, explain jokes, generate extremely realistic images from text, and do basic coding. This image is from a interesting, yet a bit scary, video of two AIs talking about becoming human, though mostly it's just entertaining. And these are two images generated by AI. The AI is called Midjourney, just by using text prompts, which you can see below in the picture. So this is just an example to show how AI capabilities have progressed. And this was not possible 10 years ago. The ultimate goal of leading AI labs is to develop AI that is as good as or better than humans in all tasks. It's extremely hard to predict the future of technology, but various arguments and expert surveys suggest that this achievement is more likely than not this century. And according to standard economic models, once general AI can perform at a human level, technological progress could dramatically accelerate. The result would be an enormous transformation, perhaps of a significance similar to or greater than the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s. If handled well, this transformation could bring about abundance and prosperity for everyone. If handled poorly, it could result in an extreme concentration of power in the hands of a tiny elite. In the worst case, we could lose control of the AI systems themselves, and unable to govern beings with capabilities far greater than our own, we would find ourselves with as little control over our future as chimpanzees have control over theirs. This means the issue could not only have a dramatic impact on the present generation, but also on all future generations. This is just a picture from a Kurzgesagt video on a glimpse into the far future, which I actually recommend watching. And so the AI alignment problem is especially pressing from a long-termist perspective, which is a school of thinking within effective altruism that holds improving the long-term future is a key moral priority of our time. How to ensure AI systems continue to further human values, even as they become equal or superior to humans in their capabilities, is called the AI alignment problem, and solving it requires advances in computer science. Despite its potential historical importance, only a couple of hundred researchers work on the problem, compared to tens of thousands working to make AI systems more powerful, as you can see here. 40,000, roughly, working on increasing the capabilities, while only 300 working on the AI alignment problem as of 2020. So, what has been done about this? Well, one priority is simply to tell more people about the issue. The book Superintelligence was published in 2014, making the case for the importance of AI alignment, and became a New York Times bestseller. Another priority is to build a research field focused on this problem. For instance, AI pioneer Stuart Russell and others inspired by effective altruism founded the Center for Human Compatible AI at UC Berkeley. This research institute aims to develop a new paradigm for AI development in which the act of furthering human values is central. Others have helped start teams focused on AI alignment at major AI labs such as DeepMind and OpenAI, and outline research agendas for AI alignment. So that's AI alignment. Now, this is the second last priority that I will share, which is ending factory farming. Why do we care about this issue? Well, people in effective altruism try to extend their circle of concern, not only to those living in distant countries or future generations, but also to non-human animals. Nearly 10 billion animals live and die in factory farms in the US every year, often unable to physically turn around their entire lives or castrated without anesthetics. Lots of people agree we shouldn't make animals suffer needlessly, but most of this attention goes towards pet shelters. In the US, about 1,400 times more animals pass through factory farms than pet shelters. And despite this, pet shelters receive around $5 billion per year in the US compared to only 29 million on advocacy to end factory farming. So the scales are different, and ending factory farming seems to be hugely neglected. Some examples of what has been done. One strategy is advocacy. the Open Wing Alliance, which received significant funding from founders inspired by effective altruism, developed a campaign to encourage large companies to commit to stop buying eggs from caged chickens. To date, they have won over 2,200 commitments, and as a result, over 100 million birds have been spared from cages. Another strategy is to create alternative proteins, which, if made cheaper and tastier than factory farmed meat, could make demand disappear, ending factory farming. The Good Food Institute is working to kickstart this industry, helping to create companies like Dow Foods in China and Good Catch in the US, encouraging big businesses to enter the industry, including JBS, the world's largest meat company, and securing tens of millions of dollars to government support. Also, Good Food Institute is working together with a newly started group here at NTNU, which Andreas, sitting here, is actually working on. So you have the chance to talk to him about it after this info meeting if you are very interested in diving deep into alternative proteins. Open Philanthropy was an early investor in Impossible Foods, which created the Impossible Burger, an entirely vegan burger that tastes much more like meat and is now sold in Burger King. So those are some examples of what has been done. Now, the last priority I will share is improving decision making. Why this issue? Well, people want to do good, or people that want to do good often prefer to directly tackle problems, since it's more motivating to see the tangible effects of their actions. But what matters is that the world gets better, not that you do it with your own two hands. So people applying effective altruism often try to help indirectly by empowering others. One example of this is by improving decision making. Namely, if key actors such as politicians, private and third sector leaders, or grant makers at funding bodies were generally better at making decisions, society would be in a better position to deal with a whole range of future global problems, whatever they turn out to be. So if we can find new neglected ways to improve the decision making of important actors, this could be a route to having a big impact. And it seems like there are some promising solutions that could achieve this. So, what are examples of things that have been done? Many global problems are exacerbated by a lack of trustworthy information. Metaculus is a forecasting technology platform that identifies important questions, such as the chance of Russia invading Ukraine. It also aggregates forecasts made by hundreds of forecasters and weighs them by their past accuracy. Metaculus gave a probability of a Russian invasion of Ukraine of 47% by mid-January 2022, and 80% shortly before the invasion in the 24th of February. The Global Priorities Institute at the University of Oxford does foundational research at the intersection of philosophy and economics in how key decision makers can identify the world's most pressing problems. It has helped to create a new academic field of global priorities research, creating a research agenda, publishing tens of papers, and helping to inspire relevant research at prestigious universities. So, now that we've talked about some priorities that you often see effective altruism talk about, I want to cover what values unite effective altruism. So, effective altruism isn't defined by the projects that I mentioned just now, but what it focuses on, could easily change. So, what defines effective altruism are, first of all, prioritization, that our intuition about doing good, don't usually take into account the scale of the outcomes. Helping 100 people often makes us feel as satisfied as helping 1,000. But since some ways of doing good also achieve dramatically more than others, it's vital to attempt to use numbers to roughly weigh how much different actions help. The goal is to find the best way to help rather than just working to make any difference at all. So that's prioritization. Second is impartial altruism. We believe that all people count equally. Of course, it's reasonable to have special concern for one's own family, friends, and life in general. But when you try to do as much good as possible, we aim to give everyone's interest equal weight, no matter where they live or when they live. This means focusing on the groups who are most neglected, which usually means focusing on those who don't have as much power to protect their own interest. So that's impartial altruism. Third is open truth seeking. Rather than starting with a commitment to a certain cause, community, or approach, it's important to consider many different ways to help and seek to find the best ones. This means putting serious time into deliberation and reflection on one's own beliefs, being constantly open and curious for new evidence and arguments, and being ready to change one's own views quite radically. That's open truth seeking. Fourth, a collaborative spirit. It's possible to achieve much more by working together. And doing this effectively requires high standards of honesty, friendliness, and a community perspective. Effective altruism is not about ends justifies means reasoning, but rather it's about being a good citizen while ambitiously working towards a better world. Anyone who shares these values is trying to find better ways to help others, is participating in effective altruism. This is true no matter how much time or money they want to give, or which issue they choose to work on. Effective altruism can be compared to the scientific method. Science is the use of evidence and reason in search of truth, even if the results are unintuitive or run counter to tradition. And effective altruism is the use of evidence and reason in search of the best ways of doing good. The scientific method is based on simple ideas, like you should test your beliefs, but it often leads to radically different pictures of the world. Likewise, effective altruism is based on simple ideas, that we should treat people equally and it's better to help more people than fewer. But it leads to an unconventional and ever-evolving picture of doing good. So how can you take action? People interested in effective altruism most often attempt to apply the ideas in their lives by choosing careers that help tackle pressing problems, or by finding ways to use their existing skills to contribute to these problems. They might donate to carefully chosen charities, such as by using research from GiveWell or Giving What We Can. They might start new organizations that help tackle pressing problems, or help build communities that tackle pressing problems. Now, this list is far from exhaustive. You can apply effective altruism no matter how much you want to focus on doing good in any areas of your life. What matters is that no matter how much you want to contribute, your efforts are driven by the four values that I mentioned previously. And you also try to make your efforts as effectively as possible. Typically, this involves trying to identify big and neglected global problems and the most effective solutions to those problems, and also ways you can contribute with whatever time or money you're willing to give. By doing this and thinking carefully, you might find it possible to have far more impact with those resources. It really is possible for you to save hundreds of lives within your career. And also by teaming up with others in the community, you can play a part in tackling some of the most important issues civilization faces today. So one of these communities that you can join is Effektiv Altruism NTNU. This is a community made by students for students. And this is a 1-year-old group photo of our members. And honestly, I think they are some of the smartest yet most humble and friendly people that I know. And I hope you will have the same experience if you choose to join as a member of the group. So what are our priorities? We prioritize inspiring you to think more ambitiously when trying to do good and being more confident in your abilities to actually make a difference in the world. We want to introduce and integrate you to the international EA community. Now I'm going to use EA instead of Effektiv Altruism because it's easier. We want to teach you the methods of rationality and common biases that often avoid us from making the difference that we want to make. We want to help you identify and work towards a meaningful and influential career suited to your strengths and needs. And last but not least, we want to create a social environment for you to thrive in. So you might be wondering, what can I expect as a member exactly? And for that, I will show you your alternative near future if you want to join EA NTNU. First of all, after eating delicious pizza today and mingling with members that are here, you decide you want to join. So you can go to our website, searching Effektiv Altruism NTNU in Google, or just use the QR code I will share afterwards, and click on the red button to apply before the deadline this Sunday. And you don't need to spend that much time. No more than 5 minutes should be enough. A couple days passes, and you get an email asking for when you have time for a relaxed short interview for us to get to know you better. And maybe you feel like you butchered the interview, it went really bad, but we still see potential in you and invite you to join as a member. So you accept and join a social kickoff event with icebreakers and board games to get to know the new people in the group. And 2 weeks after, you attend to interactive introductory courses to learn more about core concepts relevant to effective altruism. This typically amounts to 12 hours of coursing in total. And when you graduate from the introductory course, you're ready to start engaging with projects to either aid with your self-development while making a difference. But before joining the project work sessions with the rest of the group, you join a social cabin trip over the weekend, free of charge, where we have discussions and workshops, play board games, ping pong, cook food, walk in the woods, or anything else you want to do. And after the retreat or the social cabin trip, you have now acquired both a solid foundation from which you can further build your knowledge and skills about how to most effectively do good, and you have become friends with many like-minded people that you can cooperate with. So it's time to join the weekly project work sessions, which are every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., where you can choose to work on projects ranging from planning your own career to organizing large open events, such as case competitions. I'm going to list up some examples of project categories that you could work on. You could be planning your career, as I said. You could be writing literature reviews. You could be organizing fundraising events, organize workshops, reading books and articles, organize retreats, such as the one you just attended, conduct impact evaluations of potential projects to work on, organize case competitions, or even start new organizations. One organization that was started from EA NTNU in 2016, which has been tremendously successful, is called Effektivt, which is a donation platform meant for Norwegians that uses GiveWell's recommended charities. This donation platform got 12 million Norwegian kroners, roughly, donated last year, and there has been an exponential growth. So they expect this year to amount to 24 million Norwegian kroners. So that is an example of a tremendously impactful project started from EA NTNU, which you can be a part of. Meanwhile, you may join weekly discussion meetings every Monday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. with free dinner at Lykke or other places to learn and discuss about a wide variety of topics relevant to doing good. Some of these topics could be moral philosophy, heavy-tailed impact, decision theory, dealing with uncertainties, global catastrophic biorisk, artificial intelligence safety, primarily focusing on the alignment problem, limits of evidence and cluelessness. And these are just a couple of examples. You can also suggest your own topics to discuss, and that is very much welcome. Furthermore, in 8th of October 2022, so this semester, you can choose to travel with us to Oslo for a national conference organized by EA Norway. Among others, here you may expect to listen to talks from charity entrepreneurship and Norwegian talks about Norwegian policies. You can attend to workshops about rationality and how to balance ambitious altruism with your personal mental health. You can meet people with similar interests and have one-on-one conversations with them. You can even find partners to start new ambitious projects with. And later this semester, in November, you may get the chance to attend to a global Effektiv Altruism conference in Rotterdam. It takes place over 1 to 2 days and will typically involve talks on pressing problems that the EA community is currently trying to address and ideas to help the community achieve its goals. There are also workshops to help improve your epistemics and career plans, cause and career meetups, networking and social activities. There are also facilitated matchmaking and plenty of time for one-on-one conversations with recruiters, founders, potential advisors, hires, collaborators, or other people relevant to your interests. And you'll probably find some really good new friends there as well. So I want to wrap up with a metaphor. And I like to think about having an impactful life as a journey to find opportunities from which you may significantly change the world for the better. This journey can be very difficult without the right tools. Having a reliable map means having an accurate understanding of reality and updating our beliefs about the world when faced with new evidence. Now, to be fair, this map doesn't seem that reliable, but hey, it's a metaphor, so yeah. Also, carrying a compass helps you making proper decisions when met with crossroads. However, none of these really matter if you don't have the will to continue. So it's important to make sure we enjoy the journey as much as we acknowledge the importance of it. That's why we often gather in communities with others that also want to work on the most important issues. So this is my vision for what EA NTNU can offer you. It's a place for you to learn the skills needed to identify and solve parts of the world's most pressing problems. It's a place for you to grow as a person and become confident in your abilities in significantly changing the world for the better. And you do this all while being part of a community dedicated to finding the best ways to help others and put them into practice. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. So yes, now you're free to ask any questions that you might have, and I'll try to answer them with the best of my abilities. Yes.
So on these social gatherings, it seems that board games are an important part of it. Are they obligatory?
Haha, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned, because this is something I sort of often forget talking about. But there's a lot of social activities in this group. There are parties, board game nights, or just common like exercise sessions. And so these are not obligatory at all. And we don't want to create a social pressure to join these events either, because for some people it's not important to socialize, and I totally get that. But for the people that really want to socialize, those are the ones that we create these events for. So it's, yeah, like if there was one thing that we expected from our members, it is to be part of the project work sessions, 3 hours a week. And we expect nothing more. Yeah. Yes, so we try to give as much choice as possible, and the way we have done it in the past is that we create a set of potential projects for people to work with. We send them out to all of our members, and they respond on a questionnaire on their preferences. So which projects they want to work on the most or the least. And based on that, we assign people to project groups. However, this semester, I am trying something different and really just trying to give the members all the information they need about the projects, and then they can find which groups they want to work with by themselves. Because I think it's really important for you to have this sense of autonomy in choosing what to work on. Like, we want this to be an offer for you, not like something we expect something in return.
Are you able to say a bit more about the projects? The slide for the work sessions seemed to mention a lot about learning and personal growth.
Yes.
But beyond that, what projects are there to do?
Yes. So this usually depends on like your personal preference. Some people want to spend more time on their own development. This totally makes sense, because we will likely have much more impact later in life than right now. So gaining more knowledge, skills, all of that seems to be very important. So we encourage people to do self-development type projects. But also, some people really want to have an impact right here and now. So we also facilitate projects for that. Maybe it's a fundraising event, or maybe it's an open event for everyone at NTNU to participate in. In 2020, we had a conference, open conference here at Glöss about effective giving. And so this was like a practical type project where the people that attended to this project got to learn how to organize such events. In the start of next semester, we will be organizing a case competition. So if you become members this semester, you can be part of organizing such a case competition.
What do you mean by case competition?
Yeah, glad you asked. So a case competition, like, it's basically facilitate an intense problem-solving session with people outside from EA NTNU or members from EA NTNU. Basically, we give a problem. This will be either in like global health as a cause area, or pandemic preparedness, or other things, and we give them a problem, and they get like 1 day to present a solution, potential solution to that problem. Then it goes through a jury, and a winner is elected. Also, we are doing this in parallel with someone from Sweden and Denmark. And so the winners at these local case competitions get to travel to Finland for a much larger competition where they compete with many other people from Finland. So I'm pretty excited about that.
How many projects will there be, and how are they? Who decides what projects exist? How are they found?
Yes. So typically there are a lot of projects because we try to adopt a work style that is seen often in software development companies. It's called Agile or Scrum, where we have these periods, like maybe it's 4 weeks typically, where people work on a project and continuously evaluate the project. After 4 weeks, they decide whether they want to continue with the project, or if it's finished, or if they don't see much value in continuing. So what often happens is that people go through many different projects, because it's like sometimes you don't realize that a project isn't that valuable to work on before you actually start working on it. Of course, we try to prevent this by planning problems really well, but my point is that it's quite like an iterative process. And you had another question.
How projects were who decides?
Yes. Yeah. So it has traditionally been the board, which is like democratically elected. But I want to make it more like free. People have always had the opportunity to suggest projects, but it has gone through like a filter, which is the board. Now we are considering whether we just want to give people the opportunity to do basically whatever they want, but we always ask them like questions to really get them to think whether this project is valuable to work on. So I guess I don't have an exact answer to it. It's like since we will likely change things up a bit this semester to make it more free, like more up to you guys. Maybe there's no more questions then. I can see Håkon is not here, which means he is outside getting pizza. That is good news. Meanwhile, another question.
I just wonder how NTNU is financed. Do you have sponsors, or is it a fee? Or?
Yes, so there are, I would say, 2 primary funding sources. One is, what was it called? Free Fund. It's like a Norwegian fund that supports youths that want to do cool stuff. Like that's actually what it is. Like the criteria is doing cool stuff. So we get a lot of money from them. But the most important funding source is Center for Effektiv Altruism, which is sort of the it was like the first effective altruism organization that started and has just naturally become sort of the center. And so they pretty much cover all our expenses if we need it, as long as they think our work is valuable, meaning that we always need to be careful about the way we spend money and careful about the way we want our members to spend their time. Like we want it to be valuable. It's primarily Free Fund and Center for Effektiv Altruism. You're not expected to pay anything. We have traditionally like a membership fee of 200 kroner each semester, but this is volunteer. It's like this shouldn't be the reason for why you don't join. Okay, while we wait for the pizza, here are 2 QR codes you can scan if you want. Please feel free to give feedback on the information meeting. This helps us improve. And also, if you want to apply already now, you can do that. Yep, that's it. Thanks a lot. And now, like, feel free to make noise.